Hello, hello. G'day, g'day. Welcome to the Signal Box today. Thank you very much for joining me. It's great to have you with me with another video to share with you guys and girls at home today, wherever you may be watching from. Big shout out to my regular viewers and subscribers. Thank you so much as always. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and we'll crack on with today's video. So, I've been doing a little bit of what's the phrase? Wallet flushing, I think. Been spending a little bit of dosh. The great thing I like about eBay is that things that you don't want and you don't need anymore, you can always make some cash on. And I did that exactly. And in return, I acquired some nice little bits and pieces that I needed for the hobby. So I'll bring on and show you what I've spent or what I've actually bought. Okay, so these couple of items I actually got off of Amazon, and this is going to come in very handy. It's a brand new bottle of this gunky stuff. This is Woodland Scenic Realistic Water. It's a resin based product, and I've had it before on my old model railway. It is brilliant stuff. The only thing with this is it takes quite a long time to cure, although you can speed it up by having a cold fan blowing in the room, or if you even get a hairdryer. You're not supposed to use a hairdryer, but I always find if you put a hairdryer over it and put it on cool, and you have no heat going through a hairdryer, just have it on cool blast, which most modern hairdryers you can do that. You can have a low setting on there so it's quite cold. It is quite possible to dry it. But the secret of this stuff is you can pour it so it's quite deep, or what I find is putting it in a little container and applying it in very thin layers, and then applying it between drying time. You can build up quite a good little effect. Unfortunately, because my railway's portable, the problem I'm going to have is actually pouring quite a large amount onto the canal basin and then letting it dry. Even if I set my layer up mega early in the morning and then take it down about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, it's still going to only be touch dry. Under the surface it will still be quite viscous, so it won't dry and cure properly. So the only trick is to put it on in very thin layers, allow to room dry temperature for a couple of hours, then buzz it over with a hairdryer on cool setting, and basically that should, pardon the pun, cure this little delightful product here. But it is very good. It's an American product. It's Woodland Scenic, and it's, like I said, it's a clear resin material. It's great stuff. But the only downfall is if you've got a permanent layout like mine, you can't take off the scenic bit that you want to do. We've got a bit of a problem, so we're going to have to put this up in very small layers. But anyway, I've got some. I'm not going to do it right now, but I just got some while I had the cash, and that's now in the stock room, ready to go for another day when we get round to it. But definitely going to use this. It's really, really good stuff. I would highly recommend this if you're going to model water on your model railway or water feature. This is the stuff to go for. It really is good. So bought it in the past. It's a little bit pricey, but you get quite a lot of it, and for what I want, this will last ages. So there we go. So that's one thing I bought. And then to go with it, I have got these. I'll just stand these up so you can see at home a little bit better. Again, good old US of A, Woodland Scenic range. This is a water tint colouring system. So you've got murky water and you've got olive drab there. And what you do, you add literally droplets of this stuff to your clear resin product, which I showed you just a few seconds ago. You mix it up, and then when it's ready, you just gently pour it or brush it on to your diorama or your model. And as you can see there's a delightful little illustration on the back there that tells you how to do it. All very technical, but yeah, in theory it does work, and I'm going to give this a go. I've never actually used this before, so I'm quite excited. I've just been scouting about online the best way to colour my canal once I've added the realistic water effect, and I think this is the way to go. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to that, creating a murky looking effect. And again, this will be for another day when we get round to it, but I've got it, so that's the main thing. Another little product that I snapped up on Amazon. I think it cost me about £16. These are great. A little bundle of, I think there's about 20 in here. These little trees. I know they don't look the best, but I think they're quite good. And you might ask me, why did you buy these? Or what is the purpose of you buying these? I think they're quite good. I'll tell you what, don't knock them, because they look very plain and bland at the moment. They don't look too much, but what we're going to do, we're going to apply some scenic material, namely the WW Scenics pink coarse foliage, and we're going to create blossom. And I think those will look really nice once we've done that. And also, another little product I bought off good old Amazon. Now, this is something that definitely all you fine scale modelers out there, or people that are thinking about making their own tree system, this might appeal to you. Look at this. A Chinese made product, but look, we're coming closer with the camera. These are different coloured 00 scale, 4mm scale leaf covering for your tree, or your bushes, or your trees that need leaf colouring. So we've got spring green, a nice autumny orangey colour, a darky red colour, and that mid spring autumn green colour with a little bit of yellow foliage in there. It's a great little idea. I mean, when you see this on Amazon, it looks much bigger. When you actually get it here in reality, they're nice and tiny. They're very, very small, and the exact scale size. If I bring the camera in, you can see each individual leaf piece that you get in these mixes are exactly the scale size for 00 scale 4mm trees. So what the idea is with this jobby, I'm going to take a few of my trees on the layout, mainly the sea moss foam trees, and some trees that I think need a little bit of tarting up. And we're going to give them a makeover, and I'm going to attempt to spray them with the WW Scenics layering spray, which is a very strong glue lacquer. And I'm going to sprinkle that over an empty container, over the tree, if you follow, and see what happens. I think that should be an improvement, but we also can apply some of that to some of these as well, because these actually look as though they can achieve that effect possibly. But I think these will work great with the blossom system. We're going to have a go at doing some trees with this. Again, some little scenic ideas for the future. I'm not going to do everything straight away. I just bought them while I had the cash, for a day where I'm going to sit and do these, but it will be definitely in the near future. But I'm really pleased with these. Wow. And you get loads per pack. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I love the fact they're all different colours and shades. So what you could do, typically you could do a tree in, say, the autumn colour, and then blend in a little bit of orange on one side of it where the sun's caught it, or it's just starting to turn for the season. Yeah, again, as it says, made in China, but you can't knock that. It does look a bit like the old Chinese green tea though, doesn't it? Don't put this in boiling water and drink it, whatever you do. It might have a nasty side effect. Anyway, yeah, so we got that. I got some, I'll tell you what I did get. Let's bring in the main star of the show. Now, I saw this on that well-known auction site, and I thought, oh, I actually always wanted one of those, and you know what, let's go for it. So you can see by the bubble wrap, it's a red box, and oh, there's that vintage yellow and black stripe, which means it's a vintage Hornby product. This is actually going to be 1976, 77, 78 Hornby vintage. So what is inside the bubble wrap, shall we? Let's have a look. I got this from a nice little model company, little model shop online on eBay, and they were very, very nice, and they sent me this in the box as it is, nicely wrapped up. But also look what they sent me as well. Free advertising for you guys. on my channel, We Buy Any Models, and it's www.littleworthmodels.co.uk. There you go, free advertising, because you sent me a free little keyring thing. That's great. I'm going to stick that on the house keys. I think that's really cool. I like that. That's actually very nice. That's an American touch, because if you buy things in America from a business, normally they'll chuck in something like that for free as a little promotional item, and there's a little way of saying thanks for your custom. So in the UK, you don't often see something like that. That's decent. You know, it's not expensive, it's not overly great, but you know what? I'm going to stick that on my bunch of keys, and there we go. Bosh. Very nice. Okay, but we like what's inside. Look. It's a Hornby Railways product. Dun, 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 dun. This is a vintage Margate made model, and look what it is. It's Sir Dinadan. Now, Sir Dinadan was one of the Knights of the Round Table, so this is a King Arthur class, an S15, or an N15, should I say, but it's a King Arthur class, and these were introduced round about, when is it saying that? 1926, that's right, 1926. They brought these out on the southern region for heavy express workings, so big engine, very powerful in real life. These definitely would have been at 9 Elms. So as you can see from my purchase, first of all, the box is in pretty decent condition. It's for a model that's, you know, very old. As you can see, that's a lovely little box. What's the end like? It's not too bad. A little bit of tear damage on there, but that's nice. Nothing, a little bit of tape would fix that. R154 Southern Region Loco, Sir Dinadan. Wow, and look at that. Look at the BT's price, £14.85, which was an absolute fortune in those days, but there we go. I'll just pause this. We'll get out of the box and we'll have a look, shall we? Okay, stay tuned, folks. Okay, welcome back. So it's out of the box. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Oh, look at that. So the box is in the polystyrene tray insert is actually in very good condition, and let's remove this rather carefully, if I can, with one hand without breaking off anything. Do you know what? I'm going to stop this and use two hands, because this is too nice to actually destroy, even though it's an old model. Okay, sorry about that, folks, but I didn't want to break the damn thing. But here we go, it's out of the box, and that's actually quite a nice looking thing. Let's bring the camera down to eye level and you can see there. We'll start from the smoke box end. So again, this is a Hornby Margate made model, and this model was made in 1977. In fact, we can look at the date when it was actually released on the instructions that come with it. These lovely vintage old Hornby paper instructions here. And if we do open them out at some stage, here we go. Now, if you want to get an idea of when your locomotive or item from Margate was manufactured, if you've got one of these sheets with your model, either second hand or what you've had yourself, on top normally stamped these sequence of numbers, R154 171177. That refers to the model number. The first couple of digits in the R number is R154. That's the product number. Then you've got a 171177, which is the 17th of November 1977. That's when this loco rolled off the production line in good old Margate in Kent from the Hornby factory. 17th of November 1977, this rolled off the production line, this very model, and it is quite a nice looking thing. So we'll go down to the smoke box end, and as you can see, it's not quite bad for a model of its age. And what I will say is, you've got to bear in mind, before we do an overview, just really quickly, a lot of people slate these models off and say, oh, they're horrible, they look nothing like a King Arthur class, and blah blah blah, and there's nothing really special about them. Well, I will defend that, saying the following statement: don't forget, these were made in 1977. There weren't any highly detailed models out much in those days for us railway modelers, and when they brought something like this out, it was quite a welcome relief, especially for southern fans. But even though the model hasn't got that much on it, it's still quite a nice model. And though it's moulded in certain places, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll have a look. Anyway, let's come back to the front. So as you can see, it's got this big southern region smoke deflectors in the front. The smoke deflectors, obviously, they're designed to keep the smoke away from the driver's window and over the top of the loco for visibility purposes when driving and firing. As you can see from the front there, compared to today's top end models, there's not much on there. It's all pre-moulded. There's enough on there, and I can just about make out rivets on there. If I come in closer with the camera, maybe. Let's have a look, shall we? Yeah, there's some rivet detail on there. There's enough on there, on the running plate there. Look, there's rivets, I can see that already. That's none too shabby. I think it looks like what it's supposed to look like, at least. It's believable. And as you can see, coming down the boiler there, you've got these really chunky moulded handrails on the side there. They're not separately fitted. For example, my 1978/79 Hornby Duchess of Sutherland has got separately fitted wire handrails, whereas this thing has got these rather crudely moulded bits of plastic on the side that are in sort of injection moulded on the side there, and all the moulding, as you can see, the pipe work is just put on there as one mould, so it's not that great, but it's been picked out in paint. So if you look at it from the side profile like that, or when it's running around your railway, it doesn't notice too much. For the purists out there, they're saying, oh, you know, it looks nothing like a King Arthur class, and it's got moulded bits, and it's a bit of a rubbishy model. You either like them or loathe them, and if I loathe them, in truth and honesty, I wouldn't have parted with my money. But I wanted one of these because I think they look rather stunning, regardless. And I am a bit of a railway nostalgist in all senses, for the full-size machines and also for the model-size machines. I am an avid fan of vintage Hornby products, and I love these things. I just think because, all right, if you look at it, it's not got all the whistles and bells of today's modern loco that you get from the top-end model railway manufacturers, but it's vintage. This thing was made in 1977. I was 3 years old. If I saw this in a toy shop window, I would have peed my pants. I would have wanted one of these so badly. I didn't get one. I'm 51 this year, and now I've got one, and I'm very happy. So there we are. Job done. I think it's a lovely machine. It's got character. This is when there was a line between toy trains and model trains, and this is somewhere in between. Okay, if you look at the valve gear on here, it's quite simple. To be honest with you, there's a lot of comments about these particular models, and I'll try and justify what people have said on different forums, and I'm going into a bit of a tangent, but for those of you watching this video that fondly remember Triang Railways before it became Triang Hornby and then Hornby, most of you might have some Triang stuff out there. You might be a Triang collector. Fantastic. I don't mind Triang stuff, but if you look at the slide bar mechanism there, that is definitely off a Triang loco, spare parts. And the rumour has it is that Hornby had a big spare bin full of parts of Triang old parts and different locos, and they decided to create a new loco with some existing old spare Triang bits and pieces, and what could you knock up out of that? And they knocked up this thing. The tender is very, very Triang, very much so. You can tell by the profile of that. I mean, I've got an old 1956-57 Triang Princess Elizabeth, and this automatically screams Triang straight out the box at me. It's the box style, the tender, just the whole thing screams Triang. It's got that shape to it. It gets even a little bit scarier underneath because we've got these little tiny split axle wheels. These are definitely Triang wheels from the days of Triang, then Triang Hornby. They're much better quality than the original plasticky Triang wheels, but they're in very, very, very good condition. you know, you could sort of see your face in those wheels, and I haven't touched these, so these are quite nice. They do rotate quite freely in the little axle boxes, and they are split axles. Nevertheless, they're the correct profile for the tender, for the loco. So it is really a little bit of a, I wouldn't say Frankenstein effort, but I think what Hornby did, they took a lot of Triang ideas or spare bits and they put it into this locomotive. But having said that, it's still a very classy looking thing. I think so anyway. I like it. Do you know, I like it. I'm always a person of character, and I like things with character. And this thing has got character because it was made in 1977. It's an old Hornby Margate British made model. Not this Chinese foreign stuff you get these days, where it's all made in China. But this is a good old-fashioned great British model made by Hornby in Margate. And it's nice. I like it. So moving on to the loco, just a quick overview again. The top of it, if we come up the top shot, you can see this matte paint finish they've got on there. On my example that I've got, it seems to be very, very good. Virtually mint, I'd say. It's very close to mint in terms of paint. There's no scratches, no blemishes. It seems to be all there. Separately fitted brass safety valve, whistle. They've got two separately fitted whistles down the end there. This is on the schools class as well. They've got the same thing as well, I believe. That chimney profile with the extended front lip is good. There's no chips or scratches on that. The front looks good. There's a hole there for a vacuum pipe, which is there. I've got loads of vacuum pipes in my spares box there, so that's not a problem. That's easy to do. Put one of those on there. The front coupling is screwed on there, on that bogie. There's a little screw there, which you can unscrew and take it off if you don't want that on there, but I'm leaving mine on there. What else is quite nice? The nameplate on the loco, if we look at that, hang on a second, I'll just come in here. It says Dinadan. I'm not sure if that is a printed or it's a stick-on plastic thing, but I'm not going to touch it because it looks okay and hopefully it will stay there for life. I'm not going to fiddle with that. I'll tell you why, because if you are familiar with the sort of same era, 1977 78 Flying Scotsman, it had a sticky label for the Flying Scotsman nameplate over the wheel, the middle wheel splasher, and it was like a gummy glue kind of material that always came off. So I think that's properly on there. Anyway, so looking at the valve gear, as mentioned, you've got that slide bar, which is very Triang. The linkages are probably, that looks like a little bit like a Hall, to be honest. It could be from a Hall, but anyway, it looks to be okay. It looks believable. That's the main thing. It's got those lovely green wheels on there, and the paint seems to be excellent on there. Moving along to the cab. That's quite nice. The steps underneath can be okay. You've got a separately fitted metal handrail that goes all the way around the cab, and the full plate is very, very unusual. It's extended across to the tender, which makes for quite a close coupling system. Speaking of which, this is the only model in history from Hornby that they only ever did this once on this particular model, and that's create the coupling between the tender and loco system, whereas normally you have to put it into a drawbar with a hole with a pin. This thing has got a little ramp and a slot, which what you do, you just push and click. Look at that, easy. Just push it, click it into place, it just locks into place by itself. Isn't that good? And that's in there now. There's plenty of play on there, so it can go around curves and all that business. So yeah, that's really good. Looking at that from that profile, it doesn't look half bad. The top's even better, I think. That looks quite nice. I've seen pictures of where people have actually painted this full plate like a sandy browny colour, and then got some 2B lead pencils and cross-hatched all the lines in to represent the planking. But I am going to leave mine exactly as it is. So, a little bit about the tender. See, that just unclips like that. I like things that are simple. So, this tender seems to be in good condition. There's a little couple of scuff marks there, unfortunately, on the bottom there, on the black line of the tender chassis above there, where that's got a little chip in that, unfortunately. I might be able to touch it up with some black paint. I don't know. It doesn't notice too much, but it reveals the green mould of the paint underneath, so I think we might have to touch that in with a little bit of paint, a little bit of black paint. That's easy to do. It's very easy to do. The top of the tender, you've got sort of believable coal on top. It's about the right scale size, so I can't complain about that. And the tender itself, what have we got on the actual bit there? Okay, nothing too special, but again, for a model of its age, what do you expect? It's not half bad though. There's no provision for a vacuum pipe on the back there, I believe. If we look on the other side, the paintwork is crisp. The letter and the number in that goldy southern region typeface looks pretty good. What you got to watch for on these models, sometimes you'll pick these up and the bearing covers, the old Timken bearing covers there, the middle bits of those square bits in the middle of the wheel, sometimes they're missing or they pop out. On my example, everything looks good on the chassis side of the tender. So yeah, good. If we just come out again with the camera. Okay, so if we gently put it over onto its side, I'll show you. These models are so vintage, with these vintage collector wipers there on the rear and the lead drivers. As you can see there, there's a pickup wiper on there and a pickup wiper on there. That seems to be just about making contact, I think enough. And to me, those wheels look a little bit possibly dirty, but other than that, they look all right. They don't look in half bad nick, actually, looking at that. I don't know what you think at home, but the cotton bud always tells the truth when you run it over these things, and the amount of gunk that pours off that. They do need a clean, most likely, and I'm going to give them a clean. But other than that, it's quite pleasing to look at that. Eyeing it up as the crow flies, I'm thinking that is in half decent condition. That's in very good condition, actually. The most worrying thing to see on a model like this is the presence of oil on the keeper plate on the bottom there, where those three brass screws are as they sit there. If you see any oil in any of that area, that's a bad sign. That's too much oil. And we talked about that last video with the Hornby Tender Seagull model, didn't we? What 00 Bill has got running again. I'm hoping I'll have the same results with my model. Now the gear, plastic. That's a plastic gear drive on there. I can already see from my camera and from my eye on this side of the camera that there is lubrication on those gear teeth. And the second thing that I'm looking at on those gear teeth is for wear, any kind of wear on any of those individual teeth, and they all look in very good condition. You see these things worn sometimes, they're chipped or worn, that's a bad sign. No, that looks really good. Impressed. The whole thing actually looks in very, very good nick. Yeah, even the front pony wheels look in very good condition. Yeah, so also of note, look at that. Made in, that's a good thing to see. Made in Great Britain, when Britain was great. We didn't have all the silliness that we've got now. And R154 is the manufacturing number. So as you can see there from that little shot inside, we can reveal there's the motor. This is an X04 motor in this particular model. Yeah, I love that system there. You just push that on there and that spring-like action that clips on there. Brilliant. Yes, that's a Hornby XO4 motor inside there. It's either going to run reasonably well, or it'll run very, very, very noisy. I'm hoping it doesn't run too noisily. If it does, we just will put a little bit of hobby lube on there further if we can. But sometimes you get a noisy running motor and the body shell will amplify that sound by 10, and it will sound a lot more noisy than it actually is. You take the body loco shell off and it sounds, not as bad. It just acts like a speaker chamber sometimes. Anyway, so there is my R154 Hornby Sir Dinadan, one of the members of King Arthur's Round Table Knights. And I could just imagine that sitting on the turntable at Nine Elms. In fact, I'm going to include a picture in this video of the real life Sir Dinadan sitting on the table at Nine Elms Loco. Copyright from the internet, but it's a lovely picture. I'll chuck it in this video at the end of it. Now, before I go, I found something else of wonder and treasure today, which is equally as good as this. And I'll just pause this and go and get it, and you've got to see this. Right, no, it's not an invitation to eat chocolate ice cream. It's really old. As you can see, the dust on there and the dirt is it says bits and bobs that are on the front there. It's really vintage, because just on a really boring note, Iceland don't make that particular brand of ice cream anymore. It's different. But anyway, we're not interested in the container. It's what's inside. Where did it come from? What's in the container? What's the story? Well, the story is this. I went to my mum's today, and her late partner was an absolutely massive aviation enthusiast, and he had built quite a number of very large radio controlled aircraft. The ones that you go take out into a field and you fly, and the wingspan of some of these things are really, really big. Well, that's what he'd built. And unfortunately, when he passed away, my mum had put them up in the loft, and they've been sitting up there for about 14, 15 years. So I went over there today to mum's house, and I got them all down for her and put them in the spare room with the view to going through them and trying to make a little bit of money left on them and see what we can do. But in the meantime, I was up in the loft and I saw this container, and I knew that this wasn't his. I bet you this was mine, because I remember when I had my first model railway, before I left home and pursued the grown-up interests of married life, I had a model railway at home before I got married, and when I was much younger. And I remember dismantling it all and saving most of it and putting a lot of stuff in containers up in the loft when I lived at home. And I completely had forgotten about it. And I always wondered over the years, I wonder what happened to all those bits. I did have some bits up there. I wonder if any bits left. Well, here is said container from 1993. And this is 2025. So what's in this container, and this container itself dates from 1993. And I actually was so emotionally overwhelmed. I've even got a lump in my throat now talking about this on camera, because this is so emotional for me to show you this. What was in here since 1993, I'll show you. And what was in here was things that I was actually contemplating on ordering today, or in this particular day and age, online, for things that I needed for the railway. And lo and behold, I go and open this up at my mum's today, and it's like God was saying to me, don't buy it because you've already got it. Look at this. What a treasure box. All this was in here. So what have we got? Oh my gosh, look. A P-Way track maintenance party. I needed some of those. Still in the box, look at that. Those are lovely. And look what we've got for the play park. The play passenger standing set. But we've got some little children in there. They'll go great in the mums and dads can play with the kids in the play park, right? So there we go. Look at that. Brand new. Not even opened. Oh, look, it even says, barely make that out, the engine shed. That was from my local model railway shop in Leytonstone High Road when it was about. Wow, I love that. We've got a piece of Hornby platform ramp there, but it says this is the made in Great Britain Hornby stuff, not the Chinese stuff these days, but a bit of that. We've got some fencing. What else have we got in here? A little crane there of some sort. Oh, I know what that is. That's off the Hornby loading dock that I painted by hand into silver. Okay. But look, look at how much ratio fencing, guys. Oh, wow. Look. Brand new bits of ratio fencing in there. Look at that, look. More fencing. See, I didn't really need to go out and buy some stuff for the play park the other day for the fencing because I've got some here, but I didn't even know that was there. Look, it's a gate on that bit. Look at that. What a great find. I'm so happy. Look, another little kissing gate there. Look at that. Bit of fence in there. A little water crane. One of those. Another one of those. There's all sorts of good. Look at that. Little moped scooter in there. But as you can see, guys, there's an old Pico billboard in there. An advertising billboard. I've got a couple of those in there, I believe. Yeah. And there's all sorts of treasure troves in here. Look, we've got one of those, a furniture van container. There's quite a few little people in there as well. 00 scale figures. There's quite a lot, actually. You can't see, but there is quite a lot in there. And this is, I'll show you something. This is nice. Out of all the art, put that aside for 1 minute. That's off the, I don't know where that was from. I think something to do with Action Man. Someone had built that or whatever, but it's a bit overscale, but I don't know. What can we do? We'll see what we can do with that. But what else have we got in here? There's all sorts. Got a telephone box there. I've got one of those, loads of those. This is something I want to show you. This is something I want to show you guys. I can put this back together. But if I get it out, this is, I made this when I was about 13, right? There's the roof out of a bit of plastic card and some card. Basically, you know the road construction people, when they used to do the holes in the road, the safety tent, you know, they used to go under workman's tent, whatever. I sat and made that, and it does form a little building that you put together. I think it's come apart in the box on the way home, but easily glued back together. But it does form like a little square hut. And I sat and made all that when I was about 13. There you go. There's something else I want to show you in here as well, but I think it's rather cool. I'm trying to think out where it is. I must show you this because it is worth ending the video with. So I think it's really good. Oh, there it is. Right. Now, this show you my modelling ability when I was 13 years old. I sat and made this. That little wishing well out of a magnet, a piece of clear plastic on top, a piece of garden wire for the bucket going down, the handle, and the winding mechanism is a clothes peg spring and 2 wooden raw plugs of some sort and a piece of card over the top. But that's my little wishing well. It's slightly over scale. But yeah, I sat and made that when I was blinking 13. Look at that. And I'm 51 almost this year. Look at that. The things I used to get up to, see? Back then I was really into the hobby so much. But yeah, look at that, like, wow. There's the station name board from my first ever layout, Redfield, courtesy of Cooper Craft station name boards. Loads of things in here that, look, we can just explore. There's loads and loads and loads of bits in there to explore, and bits and pieces that are in there, all going to come in handy for my little railway, definitely. So there we are. That's my little treasure trove that I found at my mum's today, up in the loft. And there's Sir Dinnerden over there. And there's my little bits and pieces I picked up as well for the scenic bits with the trees over there. So all in all, quite a good little week this week. Bits and pieces have turned up. Now, I've got to play catch up with the railway because last week I was busy at my mum's, and so today I think I'm going to be just going through these, and then Saturday we'll get to Dinnerden running definitely, and I'll try and put some of these out on the layout. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Thank you for staying tuned, and what a great little treasure find that is. That's really made my day, that has, and it's brought back so many memories of my first railway in there. All those bits and pieces, they survived after all that amount of time. Wow. Anyway guys, I'll see you soon in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in another episode of The Signal Box. Take it easy. Bye bye.